Is she the biggest draw in women's tennis right now in the world?
Yes. Dude, it's crazy.
Yes, dude, it's crazy. The crowds she's getting all over the world are insane. Those words came from Steve Johnson, a 15-year ATP Tour veteran, on the Nothing Major podcast, February 24th, 2026. The question he was answering is Alex Eala, ranked 31 in the world, already the biggest draw in women's tennis, bigger than world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka, bigger than Coco Gauff.
Is she big? Is she bigger than Sabalenka? Is she bigger than Coco? Is
Yes.
she the biggest draw in women's tennis in the world?
His answer was not hesitation. It was confirmation. And what 3 former top 10 players said next forced the entire sport to confront a truth the rankings never predicted. Here is the question: does Eala need a slam title to cement this status, or has she already transcended what trophies can prove? Rewind 72 hours before that podcast aired. Alex Eala stood on court in Dubai, fresh off dismantling 6th-seeded Jasmine Paolini, 6-1, 7-6, a top 8 opponent. Dismissed in straight sets by a 20-year-old from Manila who had never been seeded at a WTA 1000 event in her life. The next day, she pushed past Sorana Cirstea in 2 tight sets. By the time the quarterfinal draw posted her name opposite Coco Gauff, the outer courts at Dubai were already at capacity, standing room only, for a player ranked outside the top 30. Consider the trajectory. End of 2025, hovering near 50th in the world. February 23rd, 2026, career high 31. So 16 ranking spots gained in a single week, the biggest jump on tour. No Filipino woman had ever cracked the WTA Top 100. Eala did not just crack it. She kept climbing until she stood higher than any Filipino player in the 47-year history of women's professional tennis.
So I think that if Eala, can keep doing well with her tennis, who knows? The sky's the limit on the court, off the court.
First seeding at a WTA 1000. First round bye at Indian Wells. And by March 1st, she was sharing practice courts with Sabalenka herself. The world number 1 trading ground strokes with the player 3 former pros had just crowned her commercial superior. The Australian Open earlier that year had already provided the preview. Record attendance figures, Filipino flags filling the stands, chants echoing through Rod Laver Arena for a player who had not yet won a title on tour. Gigi Salmon, the Sky Sports commentator, watched it happen and reached for the only comparison that made sense. In terms of her appeal, the crowds that follow her, she might already be the biggest star. It's like a Taylor Swift concert.
It's massive. The crowd she's getting right now, all over the world, are insane.
That observation landed in early March 2026. Within days, a podcast would turn it into a verdict. The coronation did not come from a marketing team or a federation press release. It came from 3 men who had spent a combined 4 decades on the ATP Tour: Sam Querrey, Steve Johnson, or John Eisner, sitting behind microphones on the Nothing Major podcast and confronting a question none of them expected to answer so definitively. Querrey posed it first. Is she the biggest draw in women's tennis right now in the world? Is she bigger than Sabalenka? Is she bigger than Coco? Johnson did not pause. Yes, Querrey pushed. Bigger than Sabalenka? Yes. The conflict is not between Eala and the experts.
If she wins a slam, it would be one of the biggest things in the world.
The conflict is between everything the tennis establishment thought it understood about star power and the reality playing out in stadiums from Melbourne to Dubai. A player ranked 31, no WTA titles, fresh off a 0-6, 2-6 quarterfinal loss, and yet the crowds following her dwarf those of the reigning number 1. Johnson kept going. Standing room only. The crowds she's getting all over the world are insane.
Alex Eala, it's and the people are pouring on. It's the news is just getting bigger and bigger.
John Isner added the verdict. Absolute rock star. Put yourself in the position of tournament directors watching this unfold. You book Sabalenka for a center court showcase, you book Gauff for a primetime slot, and then you realize the outer court, the one hosting the 20-year-old Filipina, has exceeded capacity before the first serve.
Whatever tournament she's in, I'm assuming it's like the Filipino community from wherever they are in that part of the world are just like have to see her.
That was Dubai. That was Doha. That was Abu Dhabi. That was Melbourne. Monday of the Dubai draw, Eala ranked 47. Wednesday, a top 8 scalp against Paolini. Sunday, career high 31 and a quarterfinal appearance at a WTA 1000. The pattern did not begin in February. Miami 2025 provided the first earthquake, youngest Filipino to reach a WTA 1000 semifinal. The months that followed only amplified the signal. Fans in the stands at the Australian Open described scenes they had never witnessed. Tournament officials confirmed attendance exceeded projections. The Filipino diaspora, over 10 million scattered across the globe, transformed every tournament into a home event. Sky Sports saw it. Gigi Salmon saw it. She might already be the biggest star, Salmon said. The crowds that follow her, it's like a Taylor Swift concert. When a mainstream commentator compares a tennis player to the highest-grossing touring artist on the planet, the sport has no choice but to recalibrate what stardom means. And then came the practice court footage from Indian Wells, March 1st and 2nd, 2026. Aryna Sabalenka, world number 1, 3-time Grand Slam champion, trading ground strokes with Alex Eala. The player the experts had just declared draws bigger crowds. The tour itself is bending to accommodate her gravity. Steve Johnson is not a casual observer. 15 years on the ATP Tour, a career-high ranking of 21, multiple titles, thousands of matches played across every surface on every continent. When a player with that resume watches the crowds surrounding a 20-year-old and says, on record, unprompted, yes, she's bigger than Sabalenka. Yes, she's bigger than Coco. The crowds she's getting all over the world are insane. That is not commentary. That is testimony. Johnson has seen what global tennis stardom looks like. He has played in front of packed stadiums for Federer, for Nadal, for Djokovic. He has watched the sports marketing machine manufacture hype and watched it fail. What he is describing with Eala is something the machine did not build, something organic, something the rankings cannot measure and the seedings cannot contain. Nike's reported long-term extension with Eala signals something corporate boards have already calculated. The Filipino market, 115 million at home, I'm tens of millions more in diaspora hubs from Dubai to Los Angeles, represents the kind of emerging market growth the WTA has chased for a decade. Lena proved an Asian star could reshape the sport's economics. Eala is proving it can happen again, and faster. Indian Wells begins March 4th. She enters seeded for the first time with a first-round bye. Miami follows 3 weeks later. Roland Garros looms in May. If the crowd energy from Dubai and Melbourne travels to the California desert, and there is no reason to believe it will not, tournament directors from Paris to New York will be watching the attendance numbers before they watch the scores. The commercial implications extend beyond ticket sales. Broadcast ratings, sponsorship activations, social media engagement. Every metric the sport uses to measure relevance is being rewritten by a player who has not yet won a tour-level title. The Dubai quarterfinal against Gauff ended 0-6, 2-6, 63 minutes, a scoreline that could have shattered momentum. Within 24 hours, Eala faced the press. Obviously, I think the gap between us was pretty prominent, she said. That's not to say that I'm so far out of reach. I feel good about the whole week. The biggest takeaway is that I'm on the right path. She posted on social media that same day. It's a privilege to play in front of people who see themselves in you. What a privilege it is to do what you love, with love. The loss did not define her. Her response did. Standing room only in Melbourne, standing room only in Dubai. a Taylor Swift comparison from Sky Sports, a double yes from a 15-year tour veteran, Paolini dismissed, Cirstea pushed aside, a quarterfinal loss absorbed with grace and gratitude, 16 ranking spots in 7 days, first seeding at a WTA 1000, practice sessions with the world number 1. Alex Eala has not won a Grand Slam. She has not won a WTA title. And yet 3 former top 10 players just declared her the biggest draw in women's tennis. And every crowd from Abu Dhabi to Indian Wells is proving them right. The rankings measure results. They do not measure what happens when 10 million people see themselves in a 20-year-old from Manila. Here is the question. Does Eala need a slam title to cement this status, or has she already transcended what trophies can prove? Drop your answer in the comments. If you recognized what Eala represents before the experts caught up, you belong here. Subscribe now. Indian Wells starts in days, and this is where the believers track every step of the rise.